to have been taken by one of the just-released crew members and emailed home a few days before the April 1st accident to show how close the Chinese pilots fly to U.S. planes. The photos include one that, based on the jet's ID number, appears to be Wang Wei, the Chinese pilot killed in the later collision. But with China still holding the $100 million surveillance plane, sources say Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is sitting on far more damning evidence, photos and videotape that document hair-raising stunts by hot-dogging Chinese pilots, including, sources tell CNN, a video in which the nose of a Chinese fighter can be seen between the propellers of one wing of an EP-3 on patrol. With Navy pilot Lieutenant Shane Osborne and his crew now free, the U.S. is no longer pulling punches about who is to blame.
The United States aircraft was operating in international airspace in full accordance with all laws, procedures, and regulations, and did nothing to cause the accident.
Based on initial interviews with the aircrew, Pentagon sources
之前喺國際空域採用自動導航嘅固定航線飛行。而家中國殲8戰機第二次由下方飛越嘅時候，同架偵察機相撞，偵察機一度失控急降2000幾公尺。機師又話，由於多次用無線電要求中方准許緊急降落，都收唔到回音，最後為咗保障機上面嘅人命安全，先至會未經批准就急降海南島。而美國廣播公司播出嘅一張照片就話係失蹤嘅中國飛行員王偉喺過去曾經飛近一架飛機，然後展示寫住自己電子郵件地址嘅紙條。美國國防部就曾經批評王偉行為違反常規。無線電視記者梁就賢報導。
喺雲南省司甸縣發生。
Ever presented. Administration officials say, though some of the specifics, like whether to include Aegis and Patriot missile batteries, are not yet decided, it will be a robust military package.
China's not going to like this package. China has drawn lines in the sand this year over the package, and we are going to cross those lines. It's clear. Beijing is really going to be unhappy, and that's going to come right into the atmosphere, the sour atmosphere in Beijing coming out of this spy plane incident.
What I said is that should such arms sales go forward, the question will be very serious.
The president and his advisors stress they will make their decision on arms for Taiwan based solely on its military needs because of the Chinese buildup along the Taiwan Straits. But Beijing, by its actions against the plane and crew, has assured more arms for the Taiwanese, according to its critics in Congress.
Well, I think that this incident relates to their not wanting any reconnaissance flights to show their buildup in any respect.
They have all but assured the fact that the United States of America is going to provide Taiwan the weapons it needs to defend itself and deter attack from the mainland of China. They have only themselves to blame.
The crisis over the plane and its crew forced the new Bush administration and the Chinese leadership to make some difficult compromises. Now they will need all the diplomatic skills they can muster to get through the Taiwan arms decision and some other minefields that are coming up. David Ensor, CNN, Washington.
Meanwhile, Beijing and Washington are preparing for next week's talks on the spy plane incident, and analysts are expecting the discussions to be highly contentious. Chinese Premier Zhu Rongji has spoken out for the first time on the incident. He says the United States
24個美軍偵察機機員喺關島停留咗幾個鐘頭後，登上空軍 C-17 運輸機，喺本港時間下晝5點左右出發前往夏威夷。機員到咗夏威夷後，會喺太平洋艦隊總部逗留2日，接受身體檢查，以及進一步向軍方交代中美軍機碰撞事件嘅經過。預計會喺本港時間星期日返回華盛頓州同家人團聚。24個機員喺朝早坐包機離開海南省，喺本港時間中午12點左右抵達關島安德森空軍基地。班機員落機時睇嚟精神唔錯。美國國防部話，包機上有13人嘅專家小組，包括醫生、心理學家同情報人員。除咗為機員檢查身體，仲向佢哋了解軍機碰撞事件經過，特別係想知道喺偵察機降落前，機上嘅敏感資料毀滅咗未。包機嘅機組人員話，24個美軍機員對於被扣留11日後，終於可以回國，都好開心。
The captain made an announcement when we were 12 miles offshore that the free world recognized us as international airspace, and we were in international airspace. Everybody cheered, and it was a good time.
美國國防部話，華盛頓州惠德比島美軍基地喺本港時間星期日會舉行盛大儀式，慶祝24個機員回國。基地到時會開放俾公眾，預計會有幾千人出席儀式。有線電視記者黃斌南報導。
八美軍偵察機機員喺海南島期間，大部分時間都係住喺一間原本對外開放嘅軍方招待所裏面。美國使館曾經形容佢哋嘅居住條件令人滿意。到底裏面嘅環境係點呢？亮麗上去睇過。
美軍機組人員入住嘅南航第一招待所，過去11日對外界嚟講係一個神秘嘅地方，冇人可以接近。但原來呢度平時係會招待外賓㗎。我哋只係用咗120蚊人民幣就租咗呢間貴賓房，係美軍入住嘅同級房間。200幾尺嘅房都算簡潔，有3張單人床，仲有蚊帳，用品都有中國特色。浴室就係全房最簡陋嘅地方，門邊侵蝕晒，座廁水箱冇咗個蓋，電熱水爐亦都比較舊式，地下仲有曱甴屍體。雖然呢度嘅設備比較殘舊啲啊，但係基本嘅嘢好似電視啊、電話咁樣都齊備㗎。不過電視播嘅都係本地電視台。美國駐華大使館國防武官直樂高曾經話過，美方機組人員住嘅地方有空調，的而且確房內最先進嘅就係分體式冷氣機。但我哋登記入住咗1個鐘頭之後，就接到招待所嘅通知，話呢2日都唔會招待外賓，要我哋退房。
反正是上面通知我們的，就是不對外接待。很抱歉了。
这样子。
我们就是不对黑者不对外接待。
是不是跟美軍的有關係呢？
那這就不太清楚了，我們都不知道。
原本鬆懈咗嘅保安又再緊張起嚟，唔準再拍攝。有線電視記者梁麗常喺海南省海口市報導。
中美雙方喺下星期會開會商討點樣處理，仍然停喺海南領。
Detaining them for almost 4 hours. The journalists were taken into custody just moments after their exclusive broadcast of the U.S. crew's departure from Hainan Island. Security officers approached CNN's Lisa Rose Weaver during a report. The crew had not filed an application to broadcast from that location. Weaver says despite her detainment, Chinese authorities have been lenient with international journalists. Well, Mike Chinoy joins us now with some insight on what the incident could mean to the future of relations between China and the United States. Mike, Jamie McIntyre reported about the talks that are coming up next week. Both China and the U.S. are under immense pressure coming into these talks, aren't they?
Well, that's right. And if the tenor of the private diplomacy has been relatively restrained during the course of the negotiations leading up to the release of the crew, that may well not be the case when the two sides sit down next week, because on all of these issues they are deeply, deeply divided. The Chinese insisted from the beginning that the whole episode, the collision, the mid-air collision, was the fault of the United States, and the U.S. should accept full responsibility and take the blame. The U.S., of course, rejected that and did not concede that in the letter which led to the release of the crew. So they're going to be thrashing out that issue. On the question of surveillance flights also, the Chinese have made it clear that this is really a major sore point. And in fact, the Chinese strategic goal in this whole episode, according to a lot of analysts, is to try and, if they can't curb these flights, at least push them further out to sea. The fact is they are taking place in international waters. The fact is the U.S. is monitoring, intercepting Chinese telephones, faxes, tracking movements of Chinese military activities, and the Chinese really don't like this. And this all cuts to the heart of the bigger issue, which is Taiwan, where the United States has been, and Taiwan have both been very concerned about a Chinese missile buildup on its side of the Taiwan